Dr. Rega, Dr. Sumida. Hey, congratulations for Strange World.
Thanks
We're
very much.
super excited.
Another one under your guys' belt. This is terrific, but let's ask that basic question of how were you brought on board to this project? Elizabeth, you want to start?
Yeah, well, Don Hall knew of our work, and this has been a passion project of his for some time. And he brought both Stuart and I on board with some other academics in different subject areas to help him brainstorm what the strange world would be.
How about for you, Stuart?
Well, it's important to know that although there were many, many different academics, we are at our core biologists, paleontologists, and evolutionary biologists. And because of that, and because of the perspective that Strange World was a world, an organism, an ecosystem, we were very, very well placed to talk about everything from the cellular level up to the ecosystem level. And to be quite honest, we have lots of colleagues who do this kind of stuff, who know a lot about these things, but Elizabeth and I have, fortunately, a long history of working with artists, so we are very comfortable with giving them the kind of information they want without going into too much lingo and terminology.
Mm-hmm.
Terrific. I know it's funny because I feel like just by speaking to both of you, this is already a spoiler, but so tell us, why is it so important to be, I want to say anatomically and ecologically correct in an animated film?
Well, we want to clarify a popular misconception. We're not in this to be the science police, right? We are here to help the artists tell a story, and we feel that when the science is correct, the story is better, not worse, right? And to go with a simple example, if a horse runs incorrectly, maybe you don't know why, you just know it looks wrong and it pulls you out of the story. So at our very simplest, we help make the horse run correctly so that you can enjoy the story and understand that that horse is a character. But in this particular instance, we were on board to help build a world, and to build a world that scale was really a big concept, how you're viewing the world and through which lens. And so we were uniquely placed, I think, to give a tissue level, a cellular level, an organismal level, and a landscape level kind of perspective that's so important for scientists as observers.
We're both teachers at heart. We do science, we do research, we teach at universities, but we both teach students. And one of the things that we have to be able to do is communicate. Okay. We have a lot of colleagues who are specialists. I mean, they're finding the cures to cancer and things like that. But our job, in addition to our research specialties, is to be generalist communicators, to teach our students how to be citizens that are scientifically literate, which means that we have to span many levels from cellular up to ecosystem. And fortunately, that was a perspective that was useful to Don Hall and Kim Nguyen and the writers and the concept artists, because that helped them to brainstorm ideas at many levels.
Yeah, and our favorite moments were just in that kind of war room, as it were, surrounded by images, and Don would say, well, what about this? What about this? What would happen if you did X? A lot of what we do is that kind of what if perspective.
Yeah, and we know mice don't talk, right? But if they did, so we're inside of this strange world, which is an ecosystem, which is an organism. So it has to breathe, and if it doesn't breathe exactly like a turtle, spoiler alert, but if it had to breathe, what are our options? So, okay, so it's breathing, so air has to move. And then Elizabeth brought in the idea, well, bugs breathe differently and they have tubes instead of lungs, and it's like going into a cave. And then they saw pictures of her in a cave. Like literally, if you look at the bonus material, there's actually pictures of her plowing through caves underwater. It's crazy cool, okay? But they were able to sort of cherry pick all sorts of fun, different ideas. And Beth gave you the perfect word, the war room, right? Where we came up with all sorts of crazy ideas, some of which flew, some of which didn't, but it was a ton of fun.
So in your opinion, for both of you, what scene out of this film, Strange World, that impressed you the most, that you were quite impressed by the animators creatively, compared to your, science opinions?
I'll let you go first.
Well, what I really love about this is that so many different stylistic concepts have been brought together. And so, one of the cells of the immune system ends up looking very much like a pterosaur, right? Like a flying reptile, and is clearly being activated by being labeled and attacking. And I think on so many levels, from the paleontological perspective, as well as the more organismal biology, there's something very satisfying about those designs. Your viewers will see that so many of those designs that start off looking like coral really end up being microscopic structures like the air sacs, the alveoli of your lungs. Right from that landscape, that all of the things that look like plants are not plants, the grass are cilia, to those pterosaur kind of flying cells. I think that world is incredibly evocative, and that whole central concept that the characters have. Why is everything trying to kill us? Right from when Ethan pops into the world and his grandfather has to use a flamethrower to rescue him. It already shows that we're up against something we don't quite understand. And so that when you get that final reveal and you see that giant eye looking at you, you're like, oh. And then the pathogen, which was the resource, right? We're trying to save our energy source. No, it's a fungus that's killing our planet, our organism. It's like that your whole bottom falls out. You're like, wow, this is different. And so, it's that fusion. It's no one specific thing. It's that creative artistry that's brought together all of those concepts into something that is a strange world.
For me, I got to say that not the character, but the idea that was incredibly compelling was the transport system. It looks like a bunch of individual sort of pillows moving until you realize that they're analogs for blood cells, and that it's a transport system within this body. It's one of the things that's found in all of the different shots in many ways. But it's also, I got to tell you, looking at the work that's got to be one of the toughest, most complicated shots in the entire film, if not the history of the studio, to create this system that moves around. Now there are other films like the whole Fantastic Voyage paradigm where you're inside of tubes, and we've seen it in movies, we've seen it in Futurama, we've seen it in all sorts of things, right? But now we've got this transport system that you can see. It's better for the shot on screen, but it is a remarkable sort of element and character in the film all at the same time. It was, I thought, a tremendous achievement.
Most excellent. And this is a very fun movie. And I do have to admit, for both of you, you are the definition of science is fun. So keep loving your jobs.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thanks very much for having us.
Thank you. Bye.